All right, hi guys. We are going to get started in just a second here. Let me get this to be a little bit bigger. Okay, awesome. All right, so today we are going to review the inverted pyramid. A good chunk of you have definitely learned about the inverted pyramid when you are in Azing, but it's a good idea to review the inverted pyramid with yearbook writing in mind. So we're going to do that today. So how do we write for yearbook? Well, in journalism, whether that's with magazines or newspapers or even the yearbook, we write in the inverted pyramid style. And this allows the reader to consume the most important information first. So if we take a look at this spread, we have our headline, we have a subhead. This would be our main story right here. We have a caption and 3 more captions on here as well. When we are a reader, we're going to consume our main story a lot more than we are our captions. So it's really important that we're writing in the inverted pyramid style. So the main story needs to read like a short feature story. Captions work very differently. In Azing, we keep them really short. That first sentence includes the who and the what, and the second sentence will give your reader more context. But in yearbook, as you can see from this page, our captions are a lot longer, and they may even include quotes. A bunch of your captions include quotes. We're going to review caption writing a lot more later. For now, let's talk about the inverted pyramid. So the inverted pyramid, this is where your story begins. So this is after your headline and your subhead, and if you're including a byline, great. So this is afterwards. Our lead is the first few sentences that really grab the reader's attention and then lead into that background information. The background information is in the paragraph called the NutGraft. So this is the who, where, why, when, how. And I call that the 5 W's and an H. The body of your inverted pyramid feature story is this alternation between details and quotes. Usually we're going to have 3 sources, but in yearbook we might just have 1 to 3 sources due to the lack of space we sometimes have. And at the very end of our story, we have additional information, sometimes a call to action, and things like upcoming dates. But any information that is in the very bottom of your inverted pyramid story should somehow tie back to an original idea that was produced earlier. And if anything, it should be able to be chopped off, which we're going to look at now. So if we take a look on the right here, we have a story that is in a newspaper. It is 1, 2, 3, 4 columns and probably about 5 inches in length. So if we, as an editor, need to use this space right here for a 4-column, 1-inch ad, which is sometimes very possible in newspaper, it happens a lot, you are going to have to shorten your feature story. And how are you going to do that? Well, the inverted pyramid allows us to really just chop off, kind of like that. If we just want to chop off the less important information, that way our reader can still get a good feature story, still be able to understand everything that's going on, but we can chop off that last section. So that's why we as journalists write in the inverted pyramid in the first place. So again, background information, stop there. I should know what has happened and who all is involved by the NutGraft, so that background paragraph. With the alteration of quotes and details, you can use direct and indirect quotes. So direct quotes are word for word and indirect are paraphrased. In yearbook, we like to see more direct quotes though. And then the closing sentences should never be vital to your feature story. Now, the reason why this whole section is bigger and this section is smaller, we have the idea of why we have an inverted pyramid, but the reason this is bigger is because it's more important. So I don't want to have some really interesting new information come up in the last 2 paragraphs of your story. That should definitely be closer to the top. Try to always write in that way. What is the most important information I can give my reader? And that should be at the top. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about the lead. This is something that really grabs the reader's attention. It involves a lot of imagery. So I want to be placed into some kind of situation, I always tell my easing kids to paint a picture, right? Really placing the reader in the middle of the action. So as it says on here, placing the reader in the position of one of the subjects. You might describe a what if scenario. There's tons of other storytelling techniques as well. We try to avoid opening with some kind of question or quote, though. We can use this very sparingly, though. The main lead should always be short, so just a few sentences or maybe even one or two sentences. It can be multiple paragraphs, but it should be distinct from the rest of the story. I should be able to tell this is the lead and this is the nut graph. So let's take a look at this example of a lead. We've got our headline, our subhead. We've even got a little caption for our story. But right here, this is our lead. From that window, 3 shots, straight line. This, in the considered opinion of college principal Dick Jewell sitting on the stone wall of Dealey Plaza, was all it took for an insignificant drifter named Lee Harvey Oswald to assassinate President John F. Kennedy from the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository with a $12 rifle. So we are getting some of that NutGraft information in here, those very specific details, but this right here, from that window, 3 shots, straight line, that is a beautiful lead. Yes, it is a quote. We should use those sparingly, but it's a great quote. When the author was writing the story, they probably were looking through their transcriptions and thinking, oh my gosh, this is a great quote. You want to give your reader the best information, what is really going to be the meat of that story. And if this is it, then give it to them. All right, so the next paragraph after the lead is called the NutGraft. This is often the longest paragraph, and it includes those major background details, so the who, the what, the when, the where, the why. Sometimes the how goes in there as well. This is vital information your readers must know in order to understand the rest of the story. Now, you might repeat very obvious information in your nut graph, and that's okay. Assume your reader is a baby and they know nothing at all. I know it's silly to think about, but for example, if you're writing a story about 9/11 and the aftermath of it, and you're trying to write to someone who was not even born by then, and you're still trying to write to them, you have to really give them details and specific information so that they can still be placed in maybe that time period without actually ever having been involved in that, or having some kind of memory from that time period. All right, the body of your inverted pyramid is the quote details alteration. This is less important, but again, it's also very important because we want to get those very juicy quotes from our interviewee. You should try to have 3 quotes, or 3 people, 3 sources. But again, in yearbook, we have to cut our story short, so you're probably only going to have maybe 1 or 2 sources. And again, the very ending is that final bits of information. All right, so let's talk about some of the basics that we see with feature story writing. We have to understand the difference between soft news and hard news, okay? Soft news is feature story writing, which I want you to focus on, okay? It focuses on a particular situation or a person and all of those emotions that are surrounding that situation or person. Then you have hard news. Hard news is what is happening right now. So if you turn on your news right now, I'm going to bet you that there are probably 2 or 3 news stations that have special coverage or special segments or whatever they want to call it of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, that is hard-hitting news. I went into Joann's Fabrics yesterday so I could buy fabric to make face masks for myself and my friends at home, and Joann's was running out of elastic. They were running out of fabric squares. They weren't running out of fabric, but they were running out of fabric squares. Things that are hard-hitting news are things that are happening to our society right now. If, for example, the death toll that keeps rising, that is hard-hitting news. Doctors who are now actually being, who have COVID-19 due to lack of resources, that is hard-hitting news. We keep in mind though with feature story, it's very descriptive and narrative. So I use that phrase of painting a picture, painting a story, giving us all of those emotions or the reasonings behind certain decisions. So hard-hitting news is the decision that was made. Donald Trump said this is going to happen, some kind of stimulus bill for our country. Great. Okay, that's a fact. But give me some of those emotions behind that decision, why this is happening, who is it affecting, how is it affecting them? That is going to give me a good feature story. It's also very expressive, lots of adjectives, and the length is 500 words or more. In yearbook, probably is shorter. All right, we're going to take a look at this example right here. This is from the yearbook from this year. It was actually created, it looks like Peyton Ivy and some other person down there. So congrats, this is your story. It's being used as an example. All right, our headline and subhead. Your headline should not give away the meat of the story. If you look at the subhead, it's only 2 words, from dust. It's very attention getting, it's interesting. I want to know what the rest of the story is going to be about. The word and is always replaced with a comma. We do not use the word and in the headline. It also will never begin with an article, a, and, the. It should also reflect the tone and the mood of the story. And again, no periods. Subhead is again also attracting the reader. It gives us a little bit more information. It's a little bit longer than our headline. No editorializing here. We should include a subject, a verb, and a direct object. And again, no period. You can use the word and though. Body copy will follow the inverted pyramid. Your quotes are very strong and unique. This is a very big tip I want you to keep in mind is ask yourself, can anyone say this? Can anyone say the quotes that are in this story? This is about Ella Glasscock's music career, and the quotes are very specific to her as a high schooler who's trying to really make it big right now. So can anyone say this? Maybe a couple of other people could say this, but not anyone super close to us at the moment. Now, if you're getting a quote from someone who is going to a football game, well, probably a lot of people could say that, right? So we want to get really juicy, interesting information. We always include an attribution of said at the end and include the person's title and the school year. The body copy should also answer all of the reader's questions. So think about this when you're writing, think about it as a reader, okay? Does this answer my question about this? Well, what about this? And what about this? So try to answer those questions when you are writing. Follows AP style, is clear and concise, and that ending ties back to probably your headline, your subhead, or maybe something in the lead as well. Okay, so let's put all of this together. Let's take a look at the actual story. The headline is From Dust. It's very attention-getting because I want to know more as a reader. The subhead, Ella G's debut song paves the way for her growing music career. Perfect. I love the phrases debut song and growing music career. That really grabs my attention as a reader. Now, I want you to read the lead and the NutGraft by yourself. That's going to be this first paragraph right here. So pause the video, take a look at it. When you're ready, come back. Okay, so if we take a look at the lead in the NutGraft, the lead is talking about Ella Glasscock walking into a music production class, and that's going to help shape her life. That's such a good lead. It's helping to really introduce who the story is about. It's a profile, okay? Your NutGraft is giving us these really important specific details. So who is this about? Ella Glasscock. What's happening? She's releasing songs, albums. Where did this all begin? Advanced music production class. When did it happen? In middle school. Why? We're going to learn more about the why. So why is she producing music? Why is this important to her in the story? And then how? Well, she answers the how by saying that this music production class helped shape her life. That's how it's all happening. All right. Go ahead and read the story on your own. Pause this video. Now, coming back, look at the body copy. If you take a look at the quotes in here, and you take a look at the transitions, the quote details, the details part of this, before starting her solo career, Glasscock was the vocalist and lyricist, I hope I'm saying that right, for the band like Apollo. Okay, so right there, we're giving our source authority, and it's so important to give our source authority, because if they don't have authority, then why am I reading this story? Why is it even important? I'm not going to tune into some news coverage at night and listen to a student talk about how we can save lives. They are not a doctor. Why would I listen to them? It's not important. So I need to have authority from my source. Okay, so give us experience. The rest of the story, I picked apart some of the things that really stood out to me. Her aspirations, specifics of her song that gave the reader a look into the songwriting process. We have quotes on her performances. And then the big thing, which is all about feature stories, is those emotions, the feelings. All of her quotes talk about her feelings. I love being up on stage and performing, seeing my friends made me even more excited. She talks about her song, the process of creating it. So yeah, really giving us those emotions, okay? The ending is great. The ending says, Glasscock performed 6 times in 2019 and is hopeful for 2020 and the upcoming future. I have big plans, Glasscock said. One day I will be a rock star. This last quote refers to the subhead and the lead. That quote being, one day I will be a rock star. Fantastic, great quote to end on. The subhead says growing music career, and the lead said would go on to shape her life. All of these, rock star, growing music career, would shape her life, all have to do with aspirations that she has. So they all tie in together, which is what I want your ending to do. It shouldn't be any new information. It shouldn't be hard-hitting news. It should be something that ties into the rest of the story. Now, last slide, okay? You are going to be writing a feature story because I want you guys to get more practice with writing. Everyone has asked for it, and so I think it's what we're going to go with. The process, when you are figuring out how to come up with a good story, you need to ask yourself, well, how am I going to create coverage for my spread? Come up with a list of ideas and then pick the best and most attainable one. Don't pick the one that is going to be the most hard-hitting one, the best feature story ever, because I want you to actually think, be a realist here, okay? Pick the most attainable one. Then write out those interview questions, interview your sources, and write your feature story, okay? Easier said than done. The order of writing, when you're actually writing that feature story, this is just for tips. Really try to begin with the ending. Whenever I'm writing curriculum for my class or any kind of thing that I'm doing, I always try to focus on the end goal. What do I want my students to accomplish? And as a writer, as a journalist, you need to think about, what do I want my readers to get from my story? So start with the ending and then work your way backwards. I would say that's the best way. If you have really good quotes and you want to start with putting your quotes and going and writing that body content, great. You might come up with a really good ending and then go back and write your lead, your subhead, and your headline. Because these parts, the lead, the subhead, headline, that's what grabs the reader's attention. You're not going to get that by not already starting your body, okay? So again, don't get stuck on the lead. Wait till later to write. You guys got this. I think you're going to do great with your assignment. If you have any questions, again, my availability is from 3 to 5 p.m. every day. Just let me know. I'm also available during class time as well. Bye, guys.